Shane, let's get to the real news now. We got the only team that matters, I would say. Um, no, in any part of the United States, the only team that matters in baseball, the New York Yankees. It's all everyone talks about. It's all the bad teams talk about. It's all the good teams talk about. How can we reach that level? How can we reach the Yankees level? But of course, we have our mishaps. We missed a World Series for a decade, Shane. Oh, goodness. What has become of our beloved team? Oh, my God. No pitching. Oh, Chapman's not a good closer. Oh, who's hitting? Why is everybody hitting from this side only? Oh, Jesus. There's so much to still pick on about the Yankees. And it always comes down to the wire with them, at least since 2017. It comes down to one at bat or one play. It's always heartbreak, which for Yankees fans, not good. You got half a billion people watching heartbreak for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That's a
More.
lot of heartbreak. That's a
4 years,
lot to
actually.
handle. Has it been 4 years?
Yeah.
20, 19, 18, 17. Shane, that's
Yeah.
4 years. Ooh, it hurts to talk about, Shane. Um, this is a different season for the Yankees. It started off with their pitching. Their pitching this year is going to be a lot different from what we've seen in years past. I know they got a new pitching coach. I want
It's
to
the
say
same guy from last
2019.
year.
No,
No,
for
just 2020.
2019.
2020, yeah.
They had that really old guy. What
That
was his
was
name?
2018 was Larry Rothschild.
Rothschild.
And then 2019 was Rothschild. And then 2020 was Matt Blake, the guy from
That's
the Indians.
the young
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
The young guy who we all thought
Which is
was
how we ended up with Kluber.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, what actually makes sense from his end is that they all the guys that they picked up this off season, Kluber, um,
Tyone.
Tyon, they all got like huge, breaking off speed pitches
Mhm.
that they might not have all the fastballs there, but it's like a huge emphasis on changeup, slider, off speeds that really generate ground balls, strikeouts most of the time on the 0-2, 1-2 counts. Um, it makes, I guess, better sense because that's what I think this pitching coach really tried to emphasize, especially with Tanaka last year. He had him throwing the sinker on I think 80% of his pitches. Um, even some of the guys who came in later on in the year, Montgomery, Herman when he was pitching. Did he pitch at all last year? Not
No.
even the beginning.
He
No,
was
he didn't pitch last
suspended
year.
and then he came by the time.
Yeah. Davy Garcia. It was huge emphasis on yes, throwing a hard fastball, but can you throw an elite breaking ball? I
Yeah.
think that's
It
good.
was
Yeah,
it was pump fastballs up
yeah.
and then throw the slider in the dirt, throw the
hmm
changeup in the dirt, which
hmm
is why Gary Sanchez didn't start in the playoffs. We're not going to get into that, but that's basically what it was.
Oh, we
Can
might
you
have to get
pump
into
a
that.
fastball up? And
hmm
then once you pump that fastball up, can you whip a slider in the dirt? And if you could do that, you could pitch for the Yankees. Garrett Cole's a master of that.
Yeah.
99 at the chest. You swing
Uh-huh.
under it. All right. You're gearing up for that now? Slider in the dirt. Pass ball,
hmm
run it ends up on first. And then we're back to square one. We're back to square one again.
Yeah, we don't want to
Yeah.
talk about Gary's mishaps because we could go on for days and days and days and that. There's again lot of things to pick at a lot of the Yankees hitters, batters, Yankees players in general. With that said, I'm surprised Tanaka didn't come back for a year. He didn't have a spot maybe in the rotation, but I would have liked to see him come back. Just a 1 year, 9 mil, 10 mil, even nothing.
I heard well, the reason the Yankees didn't sign him is because he said he wants 10 from the Yankees or
hmm
15 from everybody else. And the Yankees could technically have afforded that 10, but that
hmm
would have been basically the entire budget. And they wanted to get multiple pitchers, which is why they got Kluber for 11, Tyone for like 3. They have Darren O'Day for 2.
Darren O'Day's the other
Um,
one. That's right.
so you got 3 pitchers for slightly over for basically 15, 16 mil when Tanaka by himself would have been 10, 12, maybe 13. You understand? Like he might have said
Yeah,
10, but they would have bid him up higher. So that's why he did that. But he tweeted out and he said, I have unfinished business for the Yankees, which
that's
is why
also
he
true
only signed the 1-year deal
with the
in
Rakuten
Japan.
Eagles. Yeah, that's
But
right.
he'll be back.
So
He'll be back.
he will be back. I'd like to see him back. He's one of those players like Didi, like Ronald Torres that I'd like to see come back
Oh
1 year
man.
minimum deal
Yeah.
just to win a ring because they were on those legendary,
Yeah.
brand new sprouting Yankees teams. You know, like they kind of deserve it. I like with that said though, I know Tanaka, he was one getting up there in age. He was losing some velocity on the fastball, which was kind of like the subsequent pitch to that slot to that
The
sinker that he had
slider
been
and the
throwing all year.
splitter.
Yeah. It you know, maybe in Japan he gets his confidence up a little bit. He was already dominating there before he came to the Yankees. And, you know, in the playoffs he was a workhorse. It was right before the playoffs, towards the end of the season, that Tanaka became like a what if for the Yankees. He starts off the season pretty hot. After the All-Star break, he's, you know, mid-tier maybe. Late months, August, September, right before the playoffs, he takes a dive. Now I know like especially within the last 2 seasons, um his ERA I think between like the last 2 years from August to September was somewhere above like 5. And I don't know it was whether like just usage or his I don't like just the end of the year woes and whatever, but come playoff time, complete turnaround.
Yeah.
That's what I
Every
loved
year.
about him. Every year,
Every year, yeah.
complete
Except for
turnaround.
this year. Except for this year. This year in the
Mhm.
playoffs, he was pretty bad. But 28,
Well, yeah,
2019, 2018, 2017, like he almost single-handedly won us those 2 series against the Astros in 17
yeah,
and 19. Like
yeah.
he was there. He was basically the guy that we're like, okay, because Severino imploded 2017. The only reason we won that that game was
Mhm,
because the Yankees scored a lot. Remember, he gave up
mhm.
3 runs in the first inning, but the Yankees got that
Yeah,
back with the Didi first inning 3-run shot
yeah.
off Irvin Santana.
Mhm,
So Severino was imploding because he was just young. He never really pitched in big games before. So then
yeah.
you have Tanaka come first game and absolutely pitch lights out. Then against the Astros, lights out. Those 2 games, I think he averaged like 6 innings, 1 run or something like that for
Mhm,
both of those games. So it's like Tanaka was out here pitching.
mhm.
So it's like you can't
And you
really
can't
rely
forget
on anybody else.
he had an all-star season in 2019 too, which
Yeah.
was something that I would have really liked, to see him come back and repeat. I felt
He'll
like
be
he was
back.
more deserving of it. He'll be back for it.
He'll be
He
back.
probably won't get another all-star offer, but just another guy in the Yankees who I felt, like probably would have been like a much better pitcher had we had the hitting maybe early on. He didn't have the hitting to back it. It's probably the biggest ordeal. But
When he first came over from Japan,
mhm,
he was lights out. Like he was
mhm.
living up to Japan. But then he tore his UCL, and
Oh
then
yeah.
they had that little
Oh.
fake, oh, should he get Tommy John? Should he not? And then they said
Mhm,
no. But in order to keep pitching, what did he have to do? He had to, instead of pumping fastball, 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 he had
mhm,
to slider, splitter, slider, splitter.
mhm.
Fastball up just to keep you honest, then slider, then splitter, then
He
slider.
he made that adjustment, which was what
He had
benefit
to.
him. Yeah, he
His
had
arm
to,
wouldn't
but
hold up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like good for him. Obviously, like a really talented guy, but just overall, like took whatever came at him and really like made himself like a lovable player by the
Mm-hmm.
Yankees and a workhorse pitcher. Like you said, he'll be back. He'll come back
Yeah.
probably after next year, after we win the World Series, of course.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
before I jinx what I
Oh
just
man, that's
asked,
funny.
we should probably concern ourselves about just every other aspect of the Yankees that people want to pick about the remainder of the bullpen. Outside of the starters, we picked up 3 new guys. There's a couple guys at the back end, probably Davey, Montgomery, Ben King is in there. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It's just is
What's
that
his
the right
name?
name? No,
Michael King. Michael. It's
Michael
Ben
King.
Heller
Ben
and
Heller,
Michael King.
Michael King. I just combined 2 pitchers
Yeah,
in my mind.
I'm like Ben King. That looks all right.
Just everywhere else, the rest of the mostly the relievers. We traded out of Vino, which was something
Necessary,
to
I
Boston,
guess.
I guess.
Got us some more money.
Yeah, it did actually. That did get us some more money. We didn't sign any new relievers. We're basically sticking with. We let go of Canely, and I don't think he'll be back with us.
No, he's on the Dodgers. He signed for 2 years.
Oh wow, okay, so he's
But
already
he's not
in
pitching
LA.
this year because of Tommy John, of course.
He just had to. Oh damn, yes, that's absolutely right. But again, like the rest of the relief squad is made up of maybe leftover starters for long relief or just dude, can you name any of those relievers from last year that have stayed?
So, according to MLB Network, all these websites, baseball stuff, all that sort of stuff, we still have the number 1 bullpen in baseball because we have the 2 best relievers over the last few years. The last
Zach Britton
and Chapman.
Okay.
Of course, when we get to the playoffs, Aroldis Chapman turns into. I'm not even gonna defame that man. He got us to the playoffs, so we're gonna keep him in good spirits, even though the last 4 years he's ruined our season. But we're not gonna talk about that. But we have him, we have Britton, we have Chad Greene, who every year ends up on the top 10 reliever list for MLB on MLB Network.
There's some years I really want to like fight him, but I have to say in the last couple of years he's shown up. He's shown up. He came in and did the opener starters thing for us a couple of times. He's shown up. I'll give it to him.
So we have them 3. Then we have Luis Tessa, who I'm tired of hearing that man's name, but I will give him credit. This past year, he did pretty well.
That was a 60-game season. Let's see how he does in 162.
That's true. And then we have
honestly
Ben Heller. No, I think we released him. We had to release him because of he was supposed to make $1 million this year in arbitration. So the Yankees just cut him because they're like, we're not gonna pay you $1 million.
Yeah, no. Right.
So I think they re-signed him back for like $500,000, half the money. Yeah. That's really it. You have Johnny Lasagna, who they trusted more than Ottavino, which makes no sense because Loizaga wasn't bum.
He was.
No. He had one bad game.
Ottavino?
He had one bad game against the Blue Jays. One.
Last year?
When he gave up like 18 runs in that one game against the Blue Jays. You remember that?
No, I remember him having a terrible season last year, enough that they just did not use him for the rest of the year. Playoffs or anything be that.
That started in 2019 where they just did not touch him in the playoffs, which made no sense. Okay, and then 2020, they just didn't use him. And then they put him in a game against one of the best lineups at the time. For that stretch, the Blue Jays were on fire. He gives up 8 runs. Remember he gave that game against the Blue Jays in Buffalo?
Yes.
When we lost like 18 to something, 18 to like 3 or something like that. Yeah. So that was the game. He was horrendous that game. The rest of the year, his ERA was like 2.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I just, from my own perspective of Ottavino, is that they haven't used him in the playoffs, and they haven't used him really in big situations against hitting teams because they just know his regiment is just high or inside fastball, kind of tails, and that slider that just comes from like hitting you in the ribs to first base.
To the other batter's box.
Yeah, to the other batter's box. But with that 1-2 punch, you see that cycle a couple times. And if you're a team in the playoffs, you're waiting fastball. So you wait for the fastball high and inside. You got quick enough hands. You mash that to left field, and you may end up with a double. It's probably what happened in Buffalo that day. But I don't
The
know.
issue is in when he was in Colorado. Pitchers go to Colorado to die. His ERA in Colorado was 2
Mm-hmm.
for like 4 or 5 years straight. He
It's
was
definitely
elite,
something to take note at. Yeah.
and he pitched against the righties and lefties.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the Yankees. They see Tommy Kahnle dominating lefties with that changeup that dives away from the lefties.
That's right.
So he dominated lefties, and then you have Ottavino that goes, "Oh my God, he's throwing from behind the righties. Let's make him only face righties." And then what
Mm-hmm.
happens? He only faces righties for the whole year. Playoff time comes. They put him out there
Can't
because
do
Dylan
that.
Betances was hurt. So you put him out there against lefties and righties, he gets hit
Yeah.
because he hasn't faced lefties all year.
That slider looks like a wiffle ball to a lefty.
No,
That
but lefties
fastball's there.
crush that. Exactly.
That's what
The
I'm saying.
lefties
Yeah.
crush it.
Yeah.
Righties are like, oh, it's gonna hit me. Oh my God, it's right down the middle.
Yeah.
So that's why he's good against righties. That's why they traded him and picked up Darren O'Day because Darren O'Day's throwing from here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nobody's
now
gonna
you
be able
have
to
some
see that.
guy. You can't.
Yeah.
Lefties crush Darren. Well, used to. Now he's been in the league forever, so he knows how to pitch against lefties.
Mm-hmm.
But he's throwing from behind you, and then what happens? The ball ends up right down the middle. You're like, man, I don't know why I didn't swing at that. So now you're paying $7 million less for the same guy, technically.
Even worse, those submarine pitchers, they throw you a rising fastball sometimes.
Yes.
Can't hit those.
You can't.
A fastball starts at your knees and you're swinging at something that's up at your chest.
Yep.
It comes right down the middle. You're, oh, God damn it. Oh.
Yep.
At worst, you get a pop fly, maybe. It'll work out for him. Listen, the Yankees bullpen, like you said, has been ranked every year. They actually do show up in the regular season. They're not a team.
Even the playoffs, technically. Even the playoffs.
Yes. With the exception of one, which we'll get to.
Yeah,
it's just Chapman. It's just Chapman. We can
it's
say
Chapman.
it's just Chapman. But the Yankees are not a team that you recognize as one that blows saves or gives up big leads. They dominate. Once they've got a good lead on you, the relief comes in, they do their job, the game's over. That should be the rest of their season this year. I'm hoping that's what it turns out to be. I still feel like we're missing. Maybe we're just missing the names that were in that middle range of bullpen. It'll be a lot different this year. I always do like fresh faces, especially on the Yankees, younger guys too, just because it just feels better. Like there's security in that. Maybe the Yankees actually do sign him for a longer time, but you go further in depth in the lineup, you go further in depth in the season. It's game 5. Series on the line. Zach Britton just came in and pitched his 8th, or even worse, Aroldis Chapman has come in to pitch his 8th. And the 9th inning starts, and Aroldis Chapman is there. What kind of fear, not fear, maybe anxiety, not just fear, but anxiety. What kind of anxiety does that still bring as a Yankees fan, seeing Aroldis Chapman in the 9th inning?
So 2017,
in late game situations.
2017, it wasn't his fault. He was still the reason why we lost, technically, but it wasn't his fault because same guy that I alluded to a couple of minutes ago, Gary Sanchez can't catch. So Aroldis Chapman
in 2017, he especially couldn't catch.
Yeah.
Especially.
So Chapman will give like a little bloop single, but you have Altuve on second base. So he's gonna at least be close to scoring. So you have Judge coming up, throwing a 106-mile-an-hour fastball from right field. And instead of Gary Sanchez catching it, it pops out the glove, can't tag Altuve. We lose that series, right? Yeah. We didn't lose on that play, but we lose that series because of that. Because that was 2 games that happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. 2018, our season comes down to Gary Sanchez hitting an absolute bomb to left field that dies at the warning track. So I'll give you that. If he hit that grand slam, we probably would have beaten the Red Sox that series. That was the game.
We would have had to face David Price one more time, and we would have beat David Price. We were killing David Price that whole year. Yeah.
Exactly. Then 2019, the guy decides, I'm going to throw a cement mixer slider to one of the best hitters in baseball right down the middle. Granted, I think he had a buzzer, Altuve.
Because there's no way you sit slider. Highly assume he had a buzzer that buzzed 2 times for an off-speed pitch.
There's
They
no
couldn't
way
use
you
the
said
trash
slider.
cans because it's a playoff game. It's too loud. You can't hear the trash can. There was a buzzer there. He said, "Don't rip off my jersey. I got a fresh tattoo." That wasn't there. It was a buzzer that he hit
There's
off
no
of
way.
Aroldis Chapman.
How do you sit slider against 102?
The worst part about that one was I remember watching that, being downstairs in my living room, watching that. He threw a fastball and he couldn't catch up to the fastball. No, he hit a foul ball off of the fastball.
Well,
No?
I think so, yeah.
He hit a foul ball right there. I was like, that's fine. Hit him fastball again. Do not throw that slider. And the slider came, and Altuve knew about it, and he bombed. He mashed it to left center. Mashed it.
I don't think the issue was that he threw the slider, because, like you said, he did hit a foul ball off of the fastball the pitch before. That means he was timing it up. The issue is,
yeah. Go ahead.
The issue is, if you're gonna throw a slider, you have to throw it in the dirt. You don't throw a cement mixer that you literally can just tee it up. Like, you see it coming to the plate, and you're like, your eyes get big, and you're like, "Oh, I'm about to hit this to the moon." So in that situation, he should have thrown either a slider in the dirt or a fastball even higher than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But Chapman tries to outthink everybody, and he does the same thing every year. Then you get to 2020, and he throws a fastball, throws another one, throws another one, throws another one. And I'm like, bro, my brother-in-law was sitting right here, and I looked at him and I said, "How much you bet he throws another fastball and it gets hit to the moon?" And he's like, "But the guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. Who can hit 100 miles an hour?" I was like, anybody with a baseball bat in their hand can hit 100 miles an hour. If you see it 10 times in a row, you can hit it. And he said, "Man, he's going to throw another fastball. He's going to strike him out." I said, "Wait for it." Fastball right down the middle. I looked at him. I said, "What did I just tell you?" And he starts dying. He's like, "Yo, you called it." I was like, "Bro, he does this every year. He tries to outthink everybody and messes it up every year, going back to 2016 on the Cubs.
He's gotta know. He's gotta know that there's a sequence, or at least that there has to be some sort of, like, some way to break the pattern of just fastball, slider, fastball, because hitters catch up to either of those pitches. We just talked about it with Ottavino. Ottavino will throw you gas high and inside with a moving two-seamer, and will throw you the hard hooking slider. But lefty or righty, doesn't matter who's pitching. Doesn't matter who's hitting either. Once you've seen that, once you get used to that, if you're throwing 150 miles an hour and 60 mile per hour change or break, the hitter's gonna know that. They're gonna know to just wait.
That's
they're gonna
why they're there.
Yeah.
Even the worst hitter in the MLB, if you throw him 8 straight fastballs, and it's not like he was throwing his two-seamer or his splitter.
No.
He was throwing straight fastballs at 100 miles. It wasn't even 100, at 99 miles an hour. Like, bro, a guy that crushes lefties can hit that to the moon. You're not thinking. And I said it. I said, to this guy who's fastball hunting, that's what he does. Brasso he hunts fastballs, especially against lefties. You're gonna throw him a fastball right down the middle? Come on now, think ahead. And don't think to the next batter. Think about him. And then I have to mention this. Zach Britton went 5 up, 5 down right before that. Why take him out?
I didn't understand. Well, first of all, because Chapman came in the 8th, and I already knew that was going to be a bad decision for the 9th, because he never, ever does good in a 2-inning situation. And then second of all, you took out a steaming hot Zach Britton, who was annihilating, who was setting up the Yankees.
5 up, 5 down.
Setting up the Yankees to take the lead and win the game in the 8th or the 9th, just by killing the Rays' momentum. But you bring in Chapman in the 8th. Chapman, who, he did well in the 8th. He took out the bottom of the order, then couldn't get through. He got through the first half of the first part of the top in the 9th inning, and next thing, no, that was in the 8th inning, wasn't that the Brousseau shot? He couldn't even get through the 8th.
It might have been.
That was bottom 8.
It might have been bottom 8. Yeah.
It was bottom 8, because I remember top 9 was first of all, the Rays were the home game, so they didn't play a bottom 9.
Exactly.
The Yankees got sent home in the top of the 9th right after that, because Brousseau hit the bomb in the bottom of the 8th. Yeah, I just, again, you take out the guy who was dominating, and we can question Aaron Boone all we want on his managing decisions, or if it was a statistical matter. Regardless, Aroldis Chapman being present in the eighth for only two outs,
No, I think
and
it was
then
just one.
giving up the bomb.
I think it was because
Gave up one out and then still hit the
either
bomb after.
Britain faced 5 batters that game. So either he came in at the top of the seventh to start the inning,
Mm-hmm.
or he came in the sixth. So either way, he faced 5. So if Chapman faced, actually, yeah, well, 1 out, he faced the
Mm-hmm.
first guy, then he came out. Then Chapman came in and gave up the home run to Brasso. And it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. You know, you want to bring your closer for the guy who's best against lefties, but you're talking about a guy who throws a straight fastball or a guy who throws a sinker. Who's going to keep the hitter in the ballpark?
Mm-hmm.
Britain. You leave
Yeah.
Britain in for the guy who's scary, then bring in Chapman for the next guy. What do you wait? You trying to save him for the next day? It's win or go home. Britain should
Terrible
have pitched
scenario.
to Brasso. Keep him, even if he hits a triple, keep him in the ballpark. That's all that matters.
Terrible scenario just to be a part of again. And to make matters worse, we were waiting on the Astros. We wanted the Astros to be there for the next round. We were begging for it.
Oh my
and
God.
we didn't
We
even
would
get
have crushed them. Oh, we would have crushed
and
them.
of course, who has something to say about it but Carlos Correa? Of course, has something to say about after the Rays
look
game.
where we are now. Look where we are now. You didn't make it to the World Series. Win this series first before you talk.
God. Oh, boy.
But if you look at the lineup, though, like, because I'm getting stressed out talking about Chapman. If you look at the lineup, are like people say all the time, like we're too right-handed. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, because we are. Like the whole lineup is right-handed except for Aaron Hicks, the one switch hitter in the middle. And if we re-sign Garden, he comes back and he plays 13 games for us in sporadic months. It's not even going to matter because, you know, Yankees hitters, they're all reliant on the same type of pitcher. Someone who's going to throw you lefty or righty, someone who's going to throw you a high fastball at any chance that's going to get sent to the moon. And in Yankee Stadium, because they're all righties, they're all going to left field, where it's 338. Center field's 406, 416.
Something like that.
Meanwhile, and none of those righties hit Oppo. None of them.
No.
None of them hit Oppo well.
That I cannot.
None of them hit Oppo well because the last 2 seasons
I can't agree with that.
Have been straight pull.
No,
and if you couldn't pull it, it's strike out. LeMahieu, is that the guy you're thinking?
Is LeMahieu the guy you're thinking? To right field. Judge hits to right field.
Judge hits to right field when he gets a good fastball outside. But if you threw him a slider that hooks and goes out, he'll strike out on it every time.
Yeah, because that's everybody in the majors though. Like that's why it's such a problem. Right? That's why people say baseball's so boring because everyone strikes out on the same pitch.
That's true. But
everyone swings over the top of it.
You know who hits those? Luke Voit. Luke Voit hits low and outside sliders. One, because he's a little more patient, probably has a slower bat. But two, he actually doesn't pull the ball as much on those either. He can hit those to at least center, maybe right center. LeMahieu, you're absolutely right. I'm thinking the last 4 years, like any right-handed bat, the first few that come to mind are Judge, Stanton, and Gary. They do not hit balls to the opposite field. Judge does on fastballs. Stanton doesn't hit the ball to the right field unless he's hitting a bomb that's a line drive that hits the first row. I don't believe that the Yankees know anything other than let's pull a fastball straight to the moon on left field. That's all I've seen the last 2 years. I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't know. Here's my thought process on this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have basically an all right-handed lineup except for Aaron Hicks. And when he gets hurt, as he does every year, Brett Gardner.
Yeah.
So you think about it, Judge is better against righties. Clinton Frazier, better against righties.
Mm-hmm.
DJ LeMahieu, better against righties. Then you have Stanton, who's better against lefties. Luke Voit is better against righties, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you have those 4 out of 5 that are better against righties. And then you have a switch hitter, and you have Stanton that are better against lefties. So that's 7 out of the 9. And then you think of Gio, who's even against both. And then Gary, who's evenly bad against both.
Well,
So
for sake of argument, we'll give him better against righties, but really bad. Like
yeah,
the bar
like
is
he's
low.
bad. Yeah, the
The
bar's low.
bar is very low for Gary. You're
So
right.
if you
Okay.
look at that lineup,
Forgot about
for
Gleiber.
matchup
Gleiber
proof,
better against righties.
Glaber is he's even. I'll give him even because
Okay.
if you, even like I'm this is a bad comparison, but like say you go on MLB the Show, like
Mhm.
for his good year, like earlier
Mhm.
this year when he was like dominant, it was like
Mhm.
even. It was like 77, 76, 75, 70,
Even his
whatever.
rookie
Like
year,
yeah.
I'll give him that. He
So
was a
he
good
might
hitter
be
against both.
better. He might be better against one side, but it's close enough to make it even.
That's true.
So you look at that. That means we're matchup proof because it's not like they're bad against lefties. The only person that's bad against one side than the other is Stanton because he's so close to every righty. Like, and even against those righties, he's still gonna
Mhm.
take you deep. So it's like
On
it's
the right pitch,
whatever.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like Verlander in the playoffs when he took him deep to dead center, I was
Yeah.
like, that's Stanton.
Hmm.
And then this past playoffs when he was hitting all them home runs against righties, like he
Hmm.
was legit. So like you take it where you can get it. So you have
Hmm.
5 out of the 9 that are better against righties.
Hmm.
Two out of the 9 that are better against lefties, and 2 out of them that are even. So that means
Hmm.
if we're all right-handed and most of us are better against righties, we're still gonna hit. You have Judge, DJ, Glaber. Okay, Glaber. I won't give Glaber this because Glaber loves to pull, which makes no sense. But you have Judge, DJ, Geo, and I'll go Luke Voigt,
Hmm.
who regularly pester that right field fence, right center field, not right field, but right center
Right.
field.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they pester that wall. So I feel like even though we are two right-handed, I still agree
Hmm.
we can make do with an all right-handed lineup. That's why
Okay.
Chris Sale, whenever he faces us, still ends up with 10 strikeouts because even though we're all right-handed, we're better against righties than lefties majority of the time. But then you
Yeah.
have Chris
The
Sale coming
majority
out
of the
here throwing
lineup
that
is,
stupid
yeah.
sidearm 98-mile-an-hour fastball that you can't
Hmm.
touch. So
It's like
I
that
feel like we can
11
make
o'clock
do.
release.
Yeah. I feel like we
It
can
was
make
10
do.
o'clock. I I see your point. You make really good points actually about the right-handed, basically it's murderer's row that we've established from 1 to about 8. Gary at 9. We won't get into that. But even still, like when Gary's on, he's on. He's a feared hitter, or at least once was, and
He'll be back too, hopefully.
maybe he'll get back to that point. Yes, I from my own perspective, I think even with the alrighty lineup, there's still an inclination for pitchers to say, let's force them to pull that ball. So let's
100%.
let's throw them those breaking pitches. Let's throw them those pitches that break outside. The high fastball is always going to be there because you have to throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for the Yankees, that is the pitch that they can hit. They catch up to that. They hit
Any
it all over the
fastball.
field.
Yeah. 100%. I agree.
Generally,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. A fastball in Yankee Stadium is going to get hit, and that's
Gonna get
probably
hit.
what's going to take us far. It's the breaking pitches, mostly to those right-handed batters coming from left and right side, that kill us. Which I just, in my own, I guess, eyes, I know it's baseball. It's a hard sport, even for professionals. Those are the pitches that they needed to learn to hit 2, 3 years ago, right? Like
Yeah. Too late now.
that's it's too late now.
Yeah.
Those are the pitches that if Judge learned to hit that outside slider, that backdoor slider that just falls to the
Mm-hmm.
outside of the plate for him, if Judge learned to take that oppo, just wait back on it half a second, step forward into the plate, bang, go into right field, he'd probably have more doubles. Average would be a lot higher. Set up the Yankees for more runs down the order. Just I, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm gonna leave that at.
Even better, he needs to learn to just not swing at them
Yes,
because he
yes.
struck out like 100 times on that pitch in
It doesn't
2019.
help. It doesn't help that the umpires really give him a lot of bull on that low, like
Course.
borderline knee pitch. He's
Ankle.
six
It's
seven
like
for
at his
God's
ankle.
sakes. It's at his shins. It's not even like the catcher's catching it on the floor, and he's like,
Yeah.
strike. It was at the knees, and you're like, oh man, that's terrible. Like literally the worst thing I've ever seen.
Someone said if the MLB gets robo umps, Judge is gonna hit like 350.
Oh, I was gonna say 500.
I 100% agree. If the
That's
MLB
absolutely
gets
right, yeah.
robo umps, Judge will probably hit 320, hit 50 home runs, on base percentage of 500, 462 or something like that. And he's not going to strike out nearly as much because he doesn't have to go after that slider anymore.
Yeah.
He struck out so many times on that same pitch because he has to swing at it.
Yeah. He has to swing at it because it's coming at a 1-2, 0-2 count where he thinks he's going defensive. He wants to at least put some ball in play because there's a guy on base. He's struck out on so many of those pitches, Shane. That's been the main source of anger. And it's not just him, because I've seen Stanton do it, especially with the righties.
No, Stanton just can't hit that at all. Like, he just can't.
There was a point in 2019 or 2018 where I just felt like maybe he couldn't see anything other than a fastball. Any pitch that just had any spin to it, it was not visible. Like he thought maybe the ball wasn't there. Regardless.
The funny part is though, because remember 2018, everybody was hurt. Everybody was hurt. Yeah. So who was the one that carried us that year?
It was Stanton.
Yeah. Stanton had like 38 and 100 that year. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, he had a horrible year. It's like, the guy hit 270 with the 38 home runs and 100 RBIs. And he had a bad year. I'm confused. He carried us to the playoffs.
That was the year everyone was hurt. And it was literally just him and Gleyber Torres. And that was it. That was it. Like everyone else is just kind of
and Andujar.
Oh man.
It was just the three of them the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
I can't even remember what life was like before Gio now, because we have like a two-way player.
Yeah, exactly. Finally,
third base, right? Who would have thought? Wow. All right, Shane, are the Yankees the best team, one, in baseball, and two, the AL?
We're the best team in the AL.
I agree.
The only team that comes close is the White Sox,
which isn't much.
Their lineup is filthy, but
their lineup's good,
and
they haven't set up any.
Their starting rotation is sketchy at best, but like if you look at it, like their lineup,
that's what we're dealing with. If that's what we're dealing with, we're obviously the best team in the AL, because there's no other team in the AL that comes close to us or the White Sox. I think even right now, Toronto is hitting. They have nothing else.
They can't pitch. Astros are still good. They still have Brantley, Correa, Altuve. You still have everybody there except
Verlander.
Verlander's coming back.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So there's still stuff to deal with there. Still stuff to deal with.
Any other team?
In the AL, maybe the A's in terms of playoff contention. But other than that,
they're gonna go, but they're not good enough. They lost Liam Hendricks, who was their lights out reliever. Who's gonna do that now? Of course, they'll figure out somebody. They'll probably sign me.
They'll moneyball it, Shane. They'll moneyball it.
They'll probably sign me for $25, and I'll go out there and have like a 1 ERA. Which makes absolutely no sense. But that's really it.
$30K and a brand new hot dog stand on some NBA
like,
2K.
I don't even like hot dogs, but it's like, yo, we're gonna put you in there. So
in the AL, I think we are. Yeah. Now in baseball though,
Dodgers are better than us easily
because they won the World Series and because of the new signs that they just made. Yeah. I think the Dodgers, on paper, are probably a better team. I don't think the Padres.
They're close, but they're not
better team. They're not a better team. They have.
Well, they might
three good starters. They have three good starters. They have a pretty four. Who's their fourth?
They have Darvish 1. You have Snell 2.
I thought Snell was 1.
You have Darvish is probably going to pitch opening day because he's technically had a better year this past year. So you have Darvish 1, Snell 2, Dinelson Lamet, who was like third in the Cy Young or something like that this past year, or something like top 5 or top 10 or something like that.
And had a guy with long hair.
Not third in Cy Young. Not third in Cy Young. He wasn't third. And then Clevenger's hurt, but Clevenger's going to come back. He has Tommy John, so he's not pitching this year, but he'll be back for 2022. And then you have Clevenger. He was the guy from the Indians that got traded there. And
that's right. That's right. Oh,
so you have 2021, their rotation is going to be Darvish, Snell, Lamet, and Joe Musgrove, that just got traded from the Pirates. And then Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock was
That's
supposed to
what
be
I'm
the next
thinking.
coming of the
That's what I
savior,
was thinking of. I was
and then he
thinking
got
they have a
hurt.
young guy who they just got. Oh, and he got
Yeah,
hurt.
he
That's
got
right.
hurt 2019, came back and was average. But then 2020, he pitched all right for a couple starts and then went back to average again. So they're like, we're just gonna keep him in the 5 spot and let's see what he can do. But if he pitches up to Chris Paddock, cowboy boots, the long hair with the cowboy hat, is over.
Hmm.
He's gonna dominate.
Hmm.
Their bullpen is horrible. They have nobody.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, in terms of leveling up to the Yankees, their hitters not fully there, not as good
No,
as the Yankees.
nah, I 100% agree.
Starters
No,
probably better, bullpen definitely not.
no,
So overall, the Yankees are still the better team. So
still
two
better. Yeah.
teams, AL, NL, best two teams. You'd say Dodgers, Yankees.
Dodgers, the best team in the NL, followed by Braves,
Okay,
followed by Padres.
okay,
And because that Ozuna signing and then the Charlie Morton signing for the
yeah.
Braves, they're up there. And then for the AL, it's the Yankees, the White Sox, the Twins, if they can get some pitching, some more pitching,
Mm,
because they have all right pitchers. But if they can
yeah.
get that number, the sign Jake Odorizzi back, they'll be up there. That's
Do you
really
think
it.
the
Everybody else is
Rays?
bums.
Do you think the Rays losing Snell is that big of a factor for them?
They lost Snell and Morton. They have no
And
shot.
Morton.
Tyler
Yeah, that's a
Glass
top two
now
right there.
is all right. Like technically, Tyler Glass now was the number 1 last year. What does that
Wow.
mean?
No, wait, I'm completely like
Oh
now
wait,
fixated on why the Rays aren't going to be good.
the Rays got Chris Archer back, and when Chris
Oh,
Archer was on the Rays, he was filthy. Then he went to the
yeah.
Pirates and then had like a 10 ERA, and now he's back.
Was
So
he
you
also on the
never
Mets?
know, huh?
He was on the Pirates and then he went to the Mets. No,
No, no, he never went to the Mets. He was just on the Pirates and went into obscurity because he was horrible.
I
And then
forgot I
he
said
just,
that.
and then Michael Walker went to the Mets, and now he's on the Rays. So you're probably thinking of him.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
Michael Walker.
I'm thinking of the guy from I know who I'm thinking of, the guy from the Blue Jays who went to the Mets.
Um, oh, Stroman.
Stroman, yeah,
Yeah,
Stroman. I'm thinking of Archer, Stroman, two different guys, obviously. But
yeah,
Archer, yeah, Archer back on the Rays is probably big for Tampa themselves because
yeah. They
they,
need a
they
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 need
brought
a
back the
horse.
guy who they brought back the guy who was like there for him after Price was gone. He was like the guy. So that's probably going to carry them decently far. Won't win them the AL East. Won't win them a spot probably in the playoffs because I don't see that team.
They're
Maybe
like
fighting
the
for a
A's
wild
though.
card. Maybe
They're like
fighting
the
for a
A's.
wild card spot.
Yeah, they're
But
gonna
I
be
still
there.
see Minnesota and maybe the A's fighting for a wild card again. There's not too many other teams that I see like coming through big this year.
Knowing the A's, they'll probably still win the West. And
I still
then
think maybe Houston will take it now that Verlander's probably coming
yeah,
back.
they're the only on paper team that's supposed to be there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, I guess to close that out, what do the Yankees need to cement themselves as that top team in baseball?
All of the players that I wish they picked up all got signed. I was hoping for them to trade or not trade. You didn't have to trade for him, but sign either Schwarber or Jock Peterson,
A big lefty bat.
a lefty bat that can play every day.
Yeah.
Because Jock, I like Jock better than Schwarber for one reason and one reason only. He can play defense in both corner spots. Schwarber can only play left. So
Mhm.
it's like, and he's technically
slower.
a backup catcher. No. They're both snails. They're both down there. So it doesn't matter who you pick
Okay.
up. They're both, but Schwarber technically on paper would be an emergency catcher. So that's cool. Because now we don't have to keep 3 catchers like we always did because Sanchez is gonna get hurt and Higashioka.
Higashioka will
Yeah, it's
be
just he
there.
was, yeah.
He was there for Cole at
Oh,
least. So
yeah, and he
Cole
probably,
liked him
which is
better. And
crazy because
both
he's
went out
probably gonna
there.
get the opening day start if you think
Yeah.
about it, which is gonna be a slap in the face to Gary Sanchez. Like, all right, you're our future. Sit down. We don't care about you right now.
Until Cole and Gary build that connection, it's not going to be there.
Yeah,
It's not going to happen. I don't think so.
But yeah, so if we get a lefty bat, which none are available, so Brett Gardner when he comes back and he finds his way into our lineup again.
Sure.
Uh, that's really it. Other than that, we're kind of stuck because there's no pitchers left that we can afford. Our bullpen is the number one bullpen in baseball, still on paper, so that's dead. Uh, we have the top two. We have DJ, who's on paper the best second baseman in baseball. Luke Voigt, who's the top 5 first baseman in baseball. Judge, who is the top 5 right fielder in baseball when he's hurt. So when he's healthy, he's probably the best right fielder behind Mookie Betts. I'll give Mookie Betts. He's not on the Red Sox
I was
anymore,
gonna
so I don't
say,
feel
yeah,
bad for
Mookie.
saying that.
Yeah, no, Mookie's up. He's probably number one in my book.
And then you have Aaron Hicks, who is always hurt, but he's top 5 center fielder in the American League. I'm not gonna go baseball because we're not gonna do that. And then you have left field Clint Frazier, who's up and coming.
Definitely.
Gio, who's elite at third base. Glaber, who cannot field for his life, but he's one of the best hitting shortstops in baseball. Then you have Gary, who, when he's hot, is the best hitting catcher in the history of baseball.
Even when he has his down years, he's still statistically better than JT Realmuto, which is so hard to believe. Yeah. But the truth is, like, no catcher in baseball hits anymore.
Yeah.
None of them.
Except for them two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shockingly, Gary is still better on paper.
When he's hot, he's they said, arguably the best hitting catcher in the history of baseball when he's hot. Better than Yogi, better than Johnny Bench, better than Gary Carter, better than all of them.
That is a sight to see.
Only one that I'll say is a better pure hitter is Joe Mauer. Nobody could touch Joe Mauer when it comes to just put the bat in his hand, wake him up 2:00 in the morning, and tell him to hit a fastball. He'll do it. So, but yeah, so I feel like that's really what we need. We need Gary Sanchez to be Gary Sanchez. Don't be clueless Gary Sanchez talking about, I don't know why I got benched. What do you mean you don't know why you got benched? You hit 140 in the regular season. That's why you got benched.
He knew why he got benched. He was questioning it to maybe fight for what was left of his dignity in his spot, because he was giving his spot up to Kyle Higashioka.
And what did he do? Hit bombs. That's what you do when you have your
in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. Yeah. And so really, he was digging his own grave.
Exactly.
By asking that question. In my own eyes, the only thing I think I see the Yankees missing, and of course, like, this isn't in regards to a free agent market or even like a trade market. I'd like to see them get a big lefty starter, because CC was our guy for so long. And as you know, he essentially got older. I'm not even going to say got worse. He just age caught up to him. In these last 2-3 years, he was still the go-to. He was the go-to guy in 2009. He was still the go-to guy at the end of the pitching rotation. He was still the go-to guy in so many situations because he was a big lefty who could throw hard and had a disgusting arsenal of disgusting breaking pitches. The Yankees are just missing that. And I love the pitchers that they have now. I've loved the last few years of pitching that they've had. I wish they had done a little better, but even still, that's asking for so much. Like,
they have Montgomery. He's Andy Pettitte.
Tommy John already. I know
he's technically Andy Pettitte, but like, we have to see if he can do it in the playoffs. Because Andy Pettitte wasn't a great regular season starter. He was very good, but he wasn't great. So that's why he didn't make the Hall of Fame. But if Montgomery can give us even 3/4 of what Andy Pettitte gave the Yankees,
it would be enough. It would be enough. Yeah, that's in my own opinion in terms of what the Yankees would need. Again, it has no matter of like free agency or trade value like for them right now, because no one's available. But it's in my next maybe 5-6 years of Yankee dominance, I'd like to see them pick up a starter that way. They got too many like what if guys that they juggle around every year. It was Paxton, I felt like maybe a year ago, and it absolutely was not after last year.
When you pitch like him, you need your back, and his back went.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But if the Yankees are just historically bad at at developing pitchers.
Yeah.
Name a pitcher that came up through our system that ended up being a starter for us for a long period of time. It's Phil Hughes, and before that, Andy Pettit.
And he ended up getting traded to Houston, and then he came back and finished his
That's
career
it.
with us. There was no long term. Phil Hughes was not even the longest long
He
term
was
that
there
we
for
had.
for 5 years,
Four, 4 or 5 years.
and then
Yeah,
he got
something like
hurt,
that.
had Tommy John or something like that, and then came back as
He
a free agent and pitched for somebody else, pitched for the
went
Twins.
to like Detroit or the Twins. Yeah,
Yeah,
someone else Central. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to see that for the Yankees happen. I mean, they've always been so reliant on getting the big star too,
yeah.
but
Never thought about developing. We have to develop pitchers.
yeah, there's the
But
farm system for the Yankees never there.
yep,
You get prospects, but even those prospects they move around. All Clint Frazier moved
exactly.
around before he came up, and he was one of our touted prospects. He
Yep,
finally gets up, he's here, not doing much. Pitching, who knows? A
exactly.
black hole when it comes to that in the Yankees farm system. I couldn't tell you anyone who's down there right now because they're probably getting tossed around.
Justin Dominguez, the Martian.
The Martian.
You know what's crazy? He's like a top 30 or top 50 major league prospect overall,
Yeah,
and the guy has not played one single game yet. He's 17 years
that's
old. He has not played a
ridiculous.
single game yet.
That's ridiculous.
Like, it's not like he played
Ridiculous.
winter ball, not even winter ball. It's not like he played rookie ball or, he was in low A or high A. No, the guy hasn't even stepped in a major game.
It's already a monster. He's that much of a
But
monster that the scouts and the MLB is looking at him like this is gonna be the guy. This is the guy.
you know what he's gonna end up being though, right?
What?
An absolute bum. Because every Yankees prospect that gets touted that highly ends up horrible.
Didn't we have a catcher who was like that?
Jesus Montero.
Jesus Montero.
They were like, oh
That's
God,
right.
this guy's the greatest hitter ever. What did he come up
Died
and
in
do?
Seattle.
Nothing.
He died in Seattle. They traded him to Seattle. Oh, I forget for what.
Dustin Ackley. That should show you because Dustin Ackley, I remember that trade because I'm like, why would we do that? Good thing we did because Dustin Ackley at least gave
He
us a
died
half
in
a season of
Seattle.
good players, of being good. Jesus Montero was horrible.
That's
So
gonna
that
be
shows you.
that's gonna be sad. That's gonna be sad if he comes up and he actually falls to that status. I'd actually like to see, and he's what, an outfielder?
Yeah.
Dominguez. He's a center fielder, I think too. It'll be right on time for once we don't need Aaron Hicks anymore. He fills up the role. It would be a great thing to see. I don't know, though.
The people are calling for him to get called up, and it's like he's 17 years old.
He
He's
can't
never
do
played
that
a
right
minor
now.
league game. He never played in college. So you're taking a guy from wherever he's from. I think Dominican
He's
Republic. I think.
DR. He's
Yeah. So
Dominican.
you take him from the DR. You're gonna put him at 17 years old right into a major league game. You know what his comps were? I almost threw up when I heard this. They said most likely major league comp to Jason Dominguez. Just guess.
I think I saw this. Was it not Mickey Mantle?
It was Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout as the
Yo,
two
that's sick.
that just confirms he's
Oh,
gonna end up a bum. He might not even make it to the majors anymore.
oh my God.
They could have compared him to anybody. They said Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout. Are you kidding me?
The two of the best baseball players you've ever seen. This is the next guy. He's there. We know it. He's 17 years old. What can we do with that information? All we've seen him do
Mickey
is take
Mantle and
BP.
Mike Trout.
We've seen him take BP. That doesn't mean anything. They're looking at him by his his skills on the field by himself.
Because he ran like basically a 6 second 60-yard dash, and that's elite. That's like Olympic level. So so they're like, oh, he's super fast. He can hit a ball 500 feet, and it's like, okay, but do you see his body type? He's just gonna be standing. He's just gonna get hurt.
That's
Just
actually
like this at 17
he's
years old.
brawling. He's brawling, but I don't listen. It takes so much to be baseball ready. It takes so much. There's people who live in the minor leagues their entire lives will get the call up at age 35 and be like, I played in the minors for 10 years, been through instructional all the way up. They'll see their first MLB pitch and get sent right back
Right
down
back down.
immediately after. The same thing could happen to him, no matter
Yeah.
what comparison he's got. The same thing could happen to him. I take all those whatever's accolades and all with a grain of salt, because I
Who's that?
never ever want to see a player have to come up with all this hype and then die the day
Never.
after.
Who's that Red Sox right fielder? From Cuba that he got signed like 6 years ago, and it was funny because he got before he even played in the majors. And of course, your international signing, you get a big contract back then. The guy played like 20 games for the Red Sox and was horrible. So they sent him down to work on his game. And then he never, I think it's like Yusniel Diaz or something like that. No, that's the prospect right now. What his name is, it doesn't matter. But the guy got sent down after like 20 games for the Red Sox because he was horrible. And then they took him off the 40 man. So he was basically making $6 million a year, $10 million a year to sit in the minors. And it's like, that's what he did. That could happen to Josh. And the funny thing is, it's like, they're like, oh, he needs to get called up now. If he gets called up in 2023, 2024, 2025, even 2026, he's not late.
Mm-hmm.
He will be 22 or 23. Most people don't get called up to 25. So 6 years from now, he'll be 23. And people are talking about, oh, if they don't call him up right now, they're failing as an organization and blah, 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 blah. Like, come on. Let's not do
Shane,
this.
was that Rusney Castillo?
Rusney Castillo.
Yeah,
He
just
got
looked
some
it up.
huge contract out of Cuba and
Yeah,
did absolutely nothing.
yeah.
I think he just signed
10.5
overseas.
mil. 10.5 mil. He actually just went to go play for the Rakuten Eagles
Yeah.
with Tanaka.
Think about that. He got like
Wow.
a 6-year, $70 million contract and he played 20 games
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say he
was
played no
horrible.
more than like 22 games. Got sent right back down. In
Never came
2016, he
back.
got sent right back down. Never came back.
Never came back.
No, he played 9 games in 2016.
Yep. That's it.
9 games, got sent right back down. Paul took it Red Sox for life. Wow.
People talking about Jacoby Ellsbury as being the worst contract in Major League history. That was the worst. No. I lied. Jed Larry for the Mets the past 2 years. The guy got signed for basically the same contract as DJ. And that guy never touched the field. Didn't even make it to spring training.
Yo,
That guy's been in
Mets.
rehab for 2 years.
I forgot he was on the Mets.
He's been in rehab for 2 years.
My God.
Never played.
Or there's
Not even a spring training game. I think he got one spring training game. That was it.
The Mets guy who they're still paying the contract for like the next like 3 more years, but they like celebrate it like a national holiday.
Oh, Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bonilla.
Oh man, I think they finally paid him off this year. 2021 I think is his last year. I think they're done paying him this year or something like that, or was it last year or something like that.
They should have him come. It's like June 6th or something like that. They should have him come for the game and just like present him with a big old check. Like, here you go, Mets fans. Steve Cohen comes on the field and gives him the check, signs it personally. Bobby Bonilla, this is the last check we ever have to pay you. Have a good life. And he's like, gonna go buy my like 14th car.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Honestly, I would do that. If I'm a baseball player, my last contract, I'll take $1 million that year, but pay me $1 million for the next 25 years. If I'm Pujols, I'm doing that. Buy me out right now.
Go pay me in $1 million increments after every year.
That'd be hilarious. Well, follow us on Twitter at DROD Shaniac. On Twitter, follow us at our personal Instagram and Twitters that will be below. So you just go to the comments, you'll see it.
Episode 4 in the books.
All right.
That's
Catch
it.
you guys later.